Can I ask you something a little personal? Have you ever felt your words twist for a moment or watched the room tilt like a boat on rough water? Then, just as quickly, everything seemed fine again. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to keep you walking, thinking, laughing on your own terms. Mini strokes, what doctors call transient ischemic attacks, are quiet alarms. They come fast. They fade fast. And too often, they are ignored. Tonight, I'll be your guide and your teammate. I've spent 3 decades in neurology, sitting with families at midnight, catching the signs that save mornings, marriages, and memories. We'll decode the 8 sudden signals you must know. We'll connect them to what's happening inside your brain and why muscle strength after 60 isn't vanity. It's protection. Because when your legs are stronger and your proteins are on point, you stand steadier, your blood moves better, and your brain gets the oxygen it deserves. Before we begin, tell me something. Have you ever had a moment that felt off for a few minutes? Type 1 if yes. Type 0 if no. Share where you're watching from so our community can cheer you on. If this message feels like it was meant for you, subscribe and ring the bell so we don't lose touch. Protect your brain before it needs saving. Let's start now. Opening emotional hook. Have you ever been talking with a friend and suddenly the words in your mouth don't come out the way you meant them to? Or you stood up to get the morning paper and for a moment, the ground seemed to tilt under your feet. Then, just as quickly, everything went back to normal. Most people would shrug it off. I'm just tired. Or, I must have gotten up too fast. But as a neurologist who has spent 30 years listening to stories like this, I need you to hear me. These are not just quirks of getting older. They can be your brain's final warning sign. Every year in the United States, about 240,000 men and women experience what we call a transient ischemic attack, or mini stroke. According to the American Stroke Association, nearly half of them don't even realize what happened until it is too late. And here's the part that makes my heart heavy. About 1 in 5 of those people will suffer a major stroke within 90 days. Most within just 48 hours. Imagine that. One strange moment today, and by tomorrow, your life could be permanently altered. I still remember a patient I'll call James, a 71-year-old Vietnam veteran. One morning, he had a brief spell of dizziness while pouring his coffee. He steadied himself against the counter, laughed it off, and went on with his day. 2 days later, he arrived in the ER, unable to move his right arm. James survived, but his recovery was long, painful, and humbling. And what breaks me as a doctor is knowing that if he had called right away, the outcome could have been completely different. I'm not telling you this to frighten you. I'm telling you this because you deserve to keep walking, to keep laughing, to keep your independence. Mini strokes are not just random events. They are urgent messages from your brain saying, please, take me seriously. And morning. So today, we are going to decode the 8 most important warning signs of mini strokes. Some of them look like ordinary aging. Some vanish in minutes, tempting you to ignore them. But if you know what to watch for and you act fast, you can save your brain before it needs saving. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a moment of sudden dizziness, a slurred word, or a brief memory blank? Type 1 in the comments if yes, 0 if no. And let me know where you're watching from. I read those comments every week, and I promise you're not alone. And if you find yourself nodding as you listen, please subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next conversation. We're building a community where older Americans share wisdom, strength, and healing together. Your mornings matter, and so does your brain. Let's begin. Problem presentation. Let me ask you something. Have you ever told yourself, it's just age, when your body sends a strange signal, a sudden wave of dizziness, a hand that feels weaker than usual, or a few moments when you can't follow the thread of a simple conversation. These little episodes feel harmless, but science tells us they are anything but harmless. The National Institute on Aging reports that nearly 1 in 3 adults over 65 experiences balance problems every year. Many chalk it up to arthritis or medication, but here is the truth. Dizziness and sudden imbalance can be the very first red flag of a transient ischemic attack. Unlike the brief lightheadedness when you stand too quickly, stroke-related dizziness can feel like the room is spinning, and it doesn't get better with a change in position. If your legs suddenly feel unreliable, your brain might be asking for urgent help. Then there's muscle weakness. I see it every week in my clinic. An older man says, "Doc, my hand just slipped off the coffee cup, but I guess that's just what happens at 70. No, it is not. When weakness strikes one side of the body, an arm that won't lift, a leg that drags unexpectedly, or a smile that looks uneven, that is a classic stroke signal. And it is dangerous precisely because it appears suddenly, then sometimes disappears, tricking families into thinking the crisis has passed. Confusion is another warning many people ignore. A woman in her late 60s might suddenly lose track of the TV show she watches every night, or ask her husband the same question 3 times in 10 minutes. Families often say she's just having a senior moment. But here's what I've seen in 30 years of neurology. Dementia creeps slowly, but stroke confusion strikes like a lightning bolt. It may vanish within an hour, but the damage risk remains real. Why do these problems matter so much? Because they tell us that blood flow to the brain has been interrupted, sometimes for only a few minutes. But during that time, brain cells begin to struggle, and if full circulation is not restored, those cells die. That is why mini strokes are not mini at all, they are alarms. And ignoring them can cost independence, speech, or even life itself. So, let's pause here. Do any of these sound familiar? Have you or a loved one ever brushed off dizziness, sudden weakness, or confusion as just aging? If yes, I'd like you to type 1-inch the comments. If not, type 0. Sharing helps other viewers see they are not alone. In a moment, we'll go deeper. Because if you know the exact 8 warning signs, and you learn how to separate them from harmless everyday issues, you gain power. The power to act fast. The power to protect your brain before it needs saving. Stay with me because the difference between catching these signals and ignoring them can be the difference between walking into your granddaughter's wedding or watching it from a hospital bed. Stir up worries. Let's be honest. Most of us don't call the doctor for a dizzy spell or a brief slip of memory. We tell ourselves, it will pass. We don't want to bother anyone. And sometimes, we're simply afraid of what the answer might be. But here's the danger. Every mini stroke is a rehearsal, a dress rehearsal for the real stroke that can leave you unable to walk, unable to speak, or unable to live independently. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that about 800,000 Americans suffer a stroke every single year. Of those, nearly 130,000 do not survive. That means a stroke takes one life in this country every 4 minutes. And for those who do survive, many are left facing a new life, with wheelchairs, speech therapy, or help with the most basic daily tasks. I remember a patient I'll call Maria. She was 68, a grandmother of 4, and still worked part-time at the library. One morning, she had a sudden episode of blurred vision. Her daughter begged her to go to the ER, but Maria waved it off, saying she was tired and needed new glasses. 2 days later, she collapsed in her kitchen. By the time she reached the hospital, the stroke had robbed her of speech. Maria lived, but her life changed overnight. Her story is not rare. It is the story of thousands of American families every year. Why am I telling you this? Because I don't want your story to follow the same script. I've sat across too many hospital beds where families whispered, "If only we had called sooner." And the hardest part is knowing that many strokes were preventable if only those many strokes had been treated as emergencies. Think about it this way. If your smoke alarm goes off in the middle of the night, would you roll over and go back to sleep? Of course not. You'd get up, check the house, and protect your family. Mini strokes are your brain's smoke alarm. Ignoring them can mean letting the fire spread until it destroys what you love most: your independence, your memories, your life. Now, let me ask you, have you or someone close to you ever had an episode, dizziness, confusion, sudden weakness that you ignored because it went away quickly? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could be the lifeline that helps another person take their own symptoms seriously. In a moment, I'll show you something hopeful. Because while the risks are real, so are the solutions. There are practical steps, diet changes, gentle exercises, even small daily habits that can protect your brain before it needs saving. But first, sit with this truth. Ignoring the signs is the most dangerous decision you can make. Acting on them is the most powerful gift you can give yourself and your family. Simple solutions. Now, here is the good news. Your brain is not powerless. Even after 60, even after 70, you can take steps today that protect your brain before it needs saving. Science shows that small daily habits create powerful shields. Let's start with the basics: food, movement, and rest. First, protein. As we age, our muscles naturally shrink, a condition doctors call sarcopenia. Less muscle means less support for balance, slower walking, and higher fall risk. But protein is the building block that helps repair and maintain muscle. Aim for at least 60 to 70 grams a day, spread across your meals. That's like a palm-sized piece of salmon at dinner, a cup of Greek yogurt at breakfast, and a handful of nuts for a snack. Harvard research shows that older adults who meet protein needs not only walk stronger but also lower their stroke risk because healthy muscles keep blood moving steadily. Second, hydration and blood pressure. Many strokes strike when blood pressure surges. Simply drinking enough water, about 8 glasses a day, helps keep your circulation smooth and prevents thickened, sluggish blood. If plain water feels boring, try adding lemon slices or a few berries for flavor. Think of it as washing your brain's river every day. Third, gentle exercise. You don't need a gym membership. Try this simple test. Sit down and stand up from a chair 10 times without using your hands. If it feels difficult, that's a sign your leg strength needs attention. Just practicing this move daily strengthens your thighs and hips, the very muscles that prevent falls. Add a short walk after dinner, even 10 minutes, and you help lower blood sugar, reduce blood pressure, and send oxygen rushing to your brain. The National Institute on Aging calls this medicine without a prescription. And let's not forget to sleep. Older Americans often underestimate the power of a full night's rest. During deep sleep, your brain clears waste proteins linked to Alzheimer's and repairs tiny vessel damage. 7 to 8 hours isn't luxury, it's protection. So, let me ask you, which of these habits feels most realistic for you to start today? Is it adding a protein-rich snack, drinking another glass of water, or trying the sit-to-stand exercise after you finish this video? Type it in the comments below. Your choice might inspire someone else. Remember, the goal is not perfection, it's progress. Your brain doesn't need a marathon. It needs consistent, gentle care every single day. And when you give it that care, you're not just preventing strokes, you're choosing to live long, live well, and stay present for the people you love. Let's bring this full circle. We began tonight with a simple but frightening truth that many strokes are not small at all. They are your brain's cry for help, but we end with hope because you are not powerless. You are never too old to protect your brain before it needs saving. Think of the stories we shared. James, who ignored his dizziness and paid the price. Maria, who brushed off her vision changes and lost her words. Their lives remind us that the choice we make in those first minutes can change everything. Now think of yourself. You know the 8 signs. You know the foods that strengthen your vessels. You know the habits, water, protein, gentle exercise, deep sleep that can keep your brain strong. These are not distant, impossible goals. They are choices you can start tonight. A glass of water before bed, a 10-minute walk after dinner, a handful of berries at breakfast. Each one is a small act of love for your brain. So here is my question to you. If there was only one thing you could change about your health starting tomorrow, what would it be? Type it in the comments below. Your answer might inspire a neighbor in Texas, a retired teacher in Ohio, or a grandmother in California who is watching right now. And if you found value in this conversation, please subscribe and ring the bell so we don't lose touch. Share this video with a friend over 60 who deserves to know these signs. Together, we are building a community of strength, wisdom, and prevention. Remember this phrase, protect your brain before it needs saving. That is not just a slogan. It is a daily choice, a promise to yourself and to those who love you. Your mornings matter. Your laughter matters. Your health matters. And you have more control than you think. Stay with me on this journey, because every day after 60 is not a countdown. It is a chance to live long, to live well, and to live fully present.